The outcome is not determined by anything that you have control over. The only thing you have control over is your effort and then the effort of your group, your team.
Go up and over Kareem and rebound and put the ball back in. On the way back down the court, he elbows me several times, and I beat him down to his spot there. He takes and drives his elbow right into my chest. And so we're jostling for position, and I just elbow him back. He takes a running start and sucker punches me right in the temple.
"You cheater." Those words hung in the air at the MECCA Arena in Milwaukee on October 18th, 1977. The crowd was roaring, angry and hostile because the greatest basketball player in the world had just returned to the city that once loved him. They felt betrayed and abandoned by his departure. He felt betrayed too. And within 2 minutes, something explosive happened that would change the NBA forever. A punch thrown in anger. A moment of fury. A story that nobody sees coming that night. Milwaukee was absolutely buzzing with tension and anticipation. The Bucks had drafted Kent Benson first overall that year, a young rookie supposed to answer one crucial question. Could anyone actually replace Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the face of the franchise? The answer was about to be written in broken bones and blood. This isn't just about a basketball fight between two players. This is about a man pushed to his absolute limit. A moment of uncontrolled fury that became a turning point in his life, and how one punch changed everything about how the NBA handles violence. Give this video some hype if you think moments like these changed basketball forever and shaped the entire sport. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was completely alone at the top of professional basketball in 1977. He had won 6 MVP awards throughout his career. He had dominated the league for 9 consecutive seasons with excellence and skill. At 7'2", he towered over everyone on the court. His skyhook was absolutely impossible to stop or block. Defenders could not block it legally with any legitimate basketball move. So what did opposing teams decide to do? They turned basketball into a game of physical punishment. They grabbed him constantly. They elbowed him aggressively. They shoved him in the paint. They tried to exhaust him through physical contact instead of matching his skill. Year after year, Kareem felt like the referees did not care about his welfare. They let defenders beat him up repeatedly. They allowed cheap shots that would never be tolerated against smaller players. This created deep resentment building inside Kareem. A siege mentality developed. He believed his physical safety was his own responsibility alone. Culturally, Kareem was different from most athletes. He had changed his name from Lou Alcindor to honor his Muslim faith. He converted to Islam at a time when most black athletes were still navigating American identity. He boycotted the 1968 Olympics to protest racial injustice while other athletes stayed silent. The media did not know how to handle him. Midwest fans particularly did not understand him. When he forced his way to Los Angeles, the city that drafted him felt personally rejected and abandoned. Now returning to Milwaukee in 1977, he was walking into a hostile environment. This was not just a game between two teams. This was a confrontation with a city that felt betrayed by his departure. Kent Benson was carrying impossible weight and expectations on his young shoulders. He had anchored Indiana University's undefeated 1976 NCAA championship team as the star player. The Bucks drafted him first overall in 1977, deliberately skipping over future Hall of Famers like Bernard King. The team built a specific narrative around this rookie. He was the blue-collar answer to Kareem's supposedly aloof and intellectual star power. Benson was a devout Christian believer, hardworking in everything and humble off the basketball court. On the court, though, he had one primary job: prove the team made the right choice in the draft. The coaching staff under Don Nelson was explicit and clear with their instructions. Your job is to rough him up, be physical and aggressive, test Kareem's temper and emotional control, establish dominance from day one of your career. They were literally sending a rookie into battle against a veteran with 9 years of accumulated anger and resentment. The NBA in the 1970s was different. It was called the Dark Ages. There was no real drug testing. Violence was everywhere. Fights broke out constantly. Every team had enforcers whose main job was intimidate opponents physically. A hard foul was a normal greeting. A punch was an accepted way to settle a dispute. There were no automatic suspensions. The league was reactive, not preventative. Players felt they had to handle their own justice. The stage was set for two men to collide in an arena where violence was a tool of the game. The sequence happened so fast it took less than 2 minutes. But looking second by second, you see how tension built to the breaking point. At center court, rookie Benson out-jumped Kareem for the opening tip. Benson later said, "I'm not supposed to do that." He was shocked he could out-jump outjump the greatest player alive. The crowd roared. Moments later, Benson went over Kareem's back, grabbed the rebound, and scored a layup. In 60 seconds of his professional career, the rookie had outjumped, out-rebounded, and outscored the most dominant center in basketball. For Benson, this was validation. For Kareem, this was humiliation. As the Lakers moved to offense, Kareem and Benson ran down the court. They started jostling for position in the low post. This is where Kareem operated. This is where he felt strongest. Benson was following his instructions. He was being physical. According to what Benson said later, Kareem drove an elbow into his chest to clear space. Benson did not back down. He threw an elbow of his own. But this was not just a normal elbow. This was a strike aimed directly at Kareem's solar plexus, the soft spot right below the rib cage, the place where your diaphragm is. The impact was devastating. Kareem doubled over. He could not breathe. He was in intense pain. His eyes were watering. He was suffocating. For Kareem, this was the ultimate violation. He had absorbed contact for years and years, but a deliberate shot to the gut by a rookie, 2 minutes into the game, was an act of supreme disrespect. It was a threat to his physical safety. Kareem despised what happened. The sensation of not being able to breathe triggered something primal inside him, a fight or flight response. His mind started working. His internal voice told him one thing: if I can get my breath back, he is going to pay. This was not a blind reaction. This was a decision. Kareem made a choice. He decided that the rookie needed to understand something. If you disrespect me on opening night, the rest of the season will be a nightmare. If you make me look weak, every other team in the league will test me. Every opponent will try the same thing. He had to set a boundary, not just with Benson, but with the entire league watching. The retaliation came next. Kareem straightened up. His eyes locked on Benson. The play paused. Benson turned, thinking the exchange was over. Kareem did not. He stepped forward and closed the distance. His 7'2" frame coiled like a spring. His arm loaded up. He threw a right hook, not a jab. This punch used his entire body weight, his reach, his torque, his strength. The right hook connected with Benson's head, specifically the temple and eye socket. The force was overwhelming. Benson, who weighed 240 pounds, was lifted off his feet and crumpled to the floor. He saw stars. He lost consciousness for a moment. The punch was so hard it shattered a bone in Kareem's own hand. The fourth metacarpal. Everybody heard it. The sickening noise of bone cracking bone. The injuries tell the real story. The myth says Kareem broke Benson's jaw. The reality is different. Benson suffered a mild concussion, a laceration near his eye needing 2 stitches, and a massive black eye that swelled shut. His head hurt with steady pain across his forehead, but his jaw was fine. It was never broken. The myths grew over time, but the truth is, Kareem suffered the worst injury. He broke his hand. The fourth metacarpal. This is called a boxer's fracture, which happens when your closed fist hits something incredibly hard at the wrong angle. His hand needed a cast and immobilization. His hand sidelined him for 2 months. He missed 20 to 21 games, the longest absence of his career. He missed the All-Star game, the only time in his 20-season career he was not selected. The broken hand hurt the Lakers more than the punch hurt Benson. The league had to respond. Commissioner Larry O'Brien handed down a $5,000 fine, the largest in NBA history at that time. In 1977, the average salary was $143,000, so this fine was massive, but there was no suspension, no official suspension. Kareem was medically unable to play because of his broken hand. The league basically said the injury is punishment enough. Physics handled the suspension. This is important because something else happened 3 months later. In December 1977, Kermit Washington threw a punch at Rudy Tomjanovich that nearly killed him. Tomjanovich sued and won $3.2 million. That case changed everything. It proved sports violence had legal consequences. That is when the NBA implemented strict suspensions. If Kareem had thrown that punch 3 months later, he would have been suspended for an unprecedented length. Kent Benson never sued. People told him to sue. He had a legitimate case. But Benson, who was a devout Christian, decided something different. He decided to forgive. He said, "I had a lot of people saying, you ought to sue him, but that gave me an opportunity to learn about forgiveness." Benson's broken hand was punishment enough in his eyes. Kareem's broken hand was punishment. The record fine was punishment. Benson chose the high road. The media told a different story. To white-dominated sports media of Milwaukee, the punch confirmed Kareem was an angry black man. He was surly and ungrateful. He had changed his name and converted to Islam. Now, here was proof he was dangerous. The narrative was that Kareem threw a sucker punch against a rookie. The story ignored Benson's elbow to Kareem's stomach or called it jostling. But Kareem's punch was replayed over and over, analyzed and condemned. Sports Illustrated covered it extensively. The punch seemed to confirm the NBA was out of control, but Kareem was the intelligent one, so his violence seemed more terrifying. It seemed like the calm genius had darkness inside him. For Milwaukee fans, the punch solidified their hatred. Kareem was no longer the player who left. He was the player who assaulted their new hope. This anger lasted for years through most of his career. Only during his farewell tour in 1989 did Milwaukee finally forgive him. The punch created two different paths. For Benson, the impact was devastating beyond the physical injury. He played 11 seasons, which is respectable, but he was drafted first overall to be generational. Instead, he became a disappointment. People speculated the punch changed him forever. Maybe he became too passive. Maybe he got scared. Whatever happened, Benson never became dominant. He averaged 9.1 points and 5.7 rebounds per game for his career. He said the punch did not take everything away, showing he could stay in the league 11 years. But he never became a franchise cornerstone. The reputation damage was real. Being knocked out with a single punch, even from Kareem, damaged your credibility in 70s basketball. Other players saw weakness. The myth of the glass jaw followed Benson. Opposing centers tested him physically. For Kareem, the punch was a moment of clarity. He did not regret defending himself, but something about it scared him. He realized his own strength and how close he came to seriously injuring Benson. Kareem later reflected, "I could have killed him. Thinking about that really bothered me." This realization forced a change. He could not allow provocation to trigger violence like that again. The incident helped him mellow out. He deepened his commitment to yoga and martial arts, specifically Jeet Kune Do. These were not just for physical flexibility, but for mental discipline and control. The punch was the peak of his physical volatility. After that, he channeled dominance strictly through gameplay. He became the stoic, calm captain of the Showtime Lakers, composed and in control. The careers diverged dramatically after that night. Kareem won 5 NBA championships with the Lakers. He won the MVP award again in 1980. He was selected to the All-Star game 10 more times. He became one of the 3 greatest basketball players of all time. His scoring record stood for decades. He finished his career with 38,387 points. He became a legend and a standard for what a basketball player could be off the court. An intellectual with convictions who could control his emotions. Kent Benson became a footnote. His name is remembered because of the punch, not for what he accomplished. He is labeled a draft bust, defined as the victim of that moment. His 11 seasons of actual professional basketball are overshadowed by 2 minutes. He was drafted to replace the greatest player ever. Instead, he became famous for being knocked out by him. But the impact on professional basketball was enormous. The punch marked the beginning of the end of the enforcer era. It showed the league that violence had serious consequences. It showed that players could seriously injure each other. The no suspension ruling in October stood in stark contrast to what happened 3 months later with Kermit Washington. That case proved the league had to change. Stricter suspension rules came into effect. Conduct standards increased. Violence was no longer acceptable. The broken hand of the giant and the bruised eye of the rookie became the sacrificial injuries that changed the entire league. They paved the way for the modern, regulated version of professional basketball we see today. The legacy of this moment is complex. For Kareem, the punch was the ultimate assertion of his agency. After years of physical battering by a league that would not protect him, he took matters into his own hands. He broke his own hand in the process. The revenge was not just against Benson, it was against the narrative that he was replaceable. By knocking out the symbol of his replacement, he reaffirmed his irreplaceability. For Benson, the revenge of the game was cruel. He entered the league as a savior supposed to be the answer. Within 2 minutes, he was reduced to a footnote in another man's legend. His redemption came only through his choice to forgive, which freed him from bitterness and showed strength many do not recognize. What makes this story great is that it is not just about violence. It is about 2 young men on a collision course created by forces bigger than both of them. It is about a city that felt abandoned, a rookie carrying impossible burden, and a veteran at the end of his patience. It is about a league that was out of control. It is about race and media narratives and the struggle of a black athlete to be respected. Kareem learned that his strength could be terrifying. He learned that control was more powerful than fury. He learned that his real legacy would be built through discipline and excellence, not violence. He proved this over and over with the Lakers. Benson learned about forgiveness. He learned that holding on to anger only hurts you. He chose not to sue, not to hold a grudge, but to move forward. The October 18th 18th, 1977 incident was a defining moment in basketball history. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. A single punch, two men, a legacy that echoes today in how professional basketball is played and governed. Sometimes the greatest revenge is not the punch you throw. It is the peace you find after. It is the control you master. It is the legacy you build through discipline instead of fury. Kareem learned that lesson in blood and broken bone, and the entire NBA learned it right along with him.